I talk about this in my book, Settle for Excellence. There's a whole chapter on it called Smart Rats and Delusional Kings. That's a good chapter. And I talk about a story about a king named Pygmalion. It's one of my favorite stories in life. Can I share it with you? King Pygmalion had it all. He was like the JFK of the king world in Greek myths. He had the looks, he had the power, he had the wealth, he had the prosperity, he had it all, except for one thing, true love. In fact, he found such contempt in women that he was never able to find true love. So one day, he decides to go out and build the perfect woman out of ivory. He was a brilliant sculptor, so he found the perfect piece of ivory. And as he found the perfect piece of ivory, he began taking painstakingly long hours of chiseling and filing and sanding and washing and chiseling and filing and sanding and washing. She was so beautiful, you couldn't even tell she was made of ivory until you felt the cold of her face. She was so realistic, King Pygmalion fell in love with her. In fact, he even announced to his kingdom that he was going to marry his statue and that Aphrodite was going to bring the statue to life. He had like such a high level of certainty that in fact she would bring her to life, that he took all the plans. He had her fitted for a wedding dress. He'd lay the statue down on the finest of pillows at night. He'd have her dressed in the beautiful jewelry and stuff. He was crazy, clearly. All of his constituents started leaving him. They said, "You're crazy, you're losing it. We're not going to be associated with a wacko." So they started leaving him, and he never faltered. And according to the legend, Aphrodite was so touched by his level of certainty that she took a flaming arrow and shot it through the statue's heart, and it brought her to life. So when he came home from work one day, he kissed her on the lips as he always did, and she kissed back. And there was the birth of the Pygmalion effect. And in psychological terms, anytime we believe something with absolute certainty that it manifests. You guys have experienced this before, right? I know you have, where you just knew something was going to happen. And sure enough, it did, right? That's the Pygmalion effect. We have Dr. Robert Rosenthal, by the way, to thank for this. He was the one who coined the phrase. He actually did an interesting study where he took lab rats and he split up into groups of two. He told the group of scientists that this group was bred to climb mazes, the other one was bred not to climb mazes. Gave them to the scientists. They put the rats in the maze, and the ones that the scientists believed were bred to climb mazes found the cheese faster than the other ones. That if you believe something with absolute certainty, you can manifest it into your reality. So expect great things. In fact, there's an interesting story about the Greek gods one day trying to determine what to do with the greatest power in the universe. And if your neighbor doesn't have enough energy, poke him in the side, give him a kiss on the cheek, get him up. What's your energy level like? This is a good story. You want to hear it. Greek gods sitting around a table trying to discover what to do with the greatest power in the universe. And their whole objective is to hide it from the humans because they're afraid that we would abuse it. So they're sitting around going, what should we do? What should we do? Olympus raises his hand and he says, I know what we should do. We should take the greatest power in the universe and we should place it on the highest peaks of the mountains. They'll never think to look there. And they all thought, that's a good idea. But then one of them piped up and said, yeah, but those humans, they're crafty creatures. Somehow, someday, some way, they're going to find a way to get to the highest mountain. So they decided not to put it up there. So they debated again, and then finally Poseidon raised his hand. He says, I know, let's take the greatest power in the universe and put it in the deepest depths of the sea. They'll never, ever think to look there. Well, sure enough, though, they knew that human beings, as crafty as we are, somehow, someday, some way, we'd find a way to get to the deepest depths of the sea. So they didn't put it there. And then Orion stepped forth, and he said, I know, let's put it in the heavens, out into space. They'll never, ever think to look there. But then they realized, human beings, pretty crafty creatures. Somehow, someday, some way, we'd find a way to get up into the heavens. And they were perplexed by what they should do with the greatest power in the universe. Now that would be a treasure worth seeking. How many would agree to be able to find the greatest power in the universe? That'd be a quest worth taking, yeah? Good. Well, I don't know if you're going to find that this weekend. But I do know that that would be an amiable goal. That would be something to go for, to find the greatest power in the universe. So,